everyone. Welcome to this seminar. Today we are going to cover how you can see religious or moral system as an engineered architecture. And there's a reason actually behind this presentation. So the thing is, by viewing religion through the lens of complex adaptive system, you can uncover actually a powerful time-tested design pattern to build human-aligned AI and social architecture. So religious and moral frameworks have evolved to help optimize the human behavior, foster deep social cohesion, and also help to sustain long-term existential alignment. So the aim of this seminar is to explore how this system, rooted in ritual, moral reasoning, and shared belief, can inform the development of more ethical, resilient, and also meaning-aware technologies for the future. So this is actually the agenda for today's seminar. So today's seminar is actually designed to take you and help you on a journey from foundational concept to practice implementation. So what we will do, we're going to start by examining the overarching architecture of a religious system, how abstract principles are structured and also translated into action. Then we're going to explore the agent models that operate within this system, the individuals, the institution, and also subgroup that shape and respond to moral dynamics. Next, we will look at the computational frameworks and also subsystems that derive these agents within the religious framework and system. We're going to cover things like reward shaping, error correction, and consensus building. And finally, we're going to talk about performance metrics, how we can evaluate flourishing, alignment, and long-term societal impact. So this is actually how you evaluate the system. And that's the main reason that we are going to talk about how you can consider the whole moral and religious system and then try to evaluate each component. So through each section of today's seminar, what I'll do, I'm going to highlight how the structure and function of religious systems can offer practical insight for designing AI that is not only intelligent, but also ethical, accountable, and aligned with human values. So with this, you can now better understand that the main aim is to use this religious and moral system as a reference that can help us to design better and more responsible AI system. All right. So when we think about that religion, it's usually in terms of faith, tradition, or cultural identity. But today, I like to offer a different lens, one that treats religion system as a more complex adaptive system. These are not just the belief structure, they are implicitly engineered architecture that have evolved over time to shape human behavior and also sustain social cohesion. So you're actually just seeing the system from a different lens. This is a way, I would say, innovative way of thinking about religious system. And what's fascinating in this system, which is actually without a formal design, have optimized for values like cooperation, moral development, and long-term stability. In that sense, they can be seen as early blueprint for what we now strive to build with human-aligned AI system that guide behavior, resolve conflict, and also support flourishing communities. So rather than separating religious and technology, what we are trying to do here is to explore how one might inform the other. All right, now let's talk about the religious system that can be understood as a hierarchical architecture, much like software and AI stack. So if you are familiar with and if you're working in the software engineering domain or AI domain, you should be familiar with this hierarchical stack where each layer translates high-level principle into grounded, actionable outcome. So in a religious system, at the top, we have the divine or metaphysical layer. This includes axiom, uh, cosmic laws, or the notion of divine will. These abstract principles are rarely directly actually applied, but serve as the ultimate source of meaning and direction. Moving down, we have the axiomatic or doctrinal layer, which codifies the principle into more structured forms. We have sacred text, like in different religion, you have books like Quran, Bible, and so on and so forth, doctrines and more codes. These actually provide interpretable frameworks that guide thought and behavior. Then, in the following layer, we have the control mechanism layer. This is where rituals, religious institutions, and spiritual leaders operationalize the doctrines. They actually act as a governance system, ensuring continuity and also adherence. Next, we have the agent layer, which includes both believers and also non-believers. All the societal actors which navigate the system. Their action actually uh, feed into the behavior layer where we see daily practices, rituals, and moral choices. Finally, all of these culminated into societal impact layer, where religion shapes cohesion, resilience, identity, and even existential frameworks. The key idea here is that these systems are not arbitrary. They are structured, multi-layered, and also optimized to shape human behavior and also social system in adaptive, enduring ways. Uh, Now, to rethink how we can design an AI system, we can borrow some structural analogies from the religion system. First, imagine the diving as a kind of distributed ledger similar to the blockchain. In this analogy, the metaphysical and axiomatic layers of religious system act like an immutable record of foundational truth. These truths are shared, verifiable, and also consistent across a community without needing a central authorities. This distributed integrity is what allows religious system to maintain coherence across cultures and also centuries. Second, you can consider human cognition as a protocol stack. Just like a network stack process data at multiple layers from physical to applications, our mind processes religious and moral information across levels, in, intuitive feelings to deep reflection. This stack handles both the explicit teaching of a tradition and the implicit emotionally resonant pattern that shape our behavior. So here, the takeaway for AI is future systems need their own shared, immutable ethical axiom, foundational values that guide operation and prevent drift. And they must be built with multi-layer architecture capable of navigating not just logical rules, but also the nuanced, often intuitive way human understand meaning and also morality. So now let's talk about the agent taxonomy. So in modeling a religious system as complex adaptive system, we need to understand the different types of agent within the ecosystem. So if you are dealing with any sort of technology and AI system, you usually have like, especially now these days that we talk a lot about the agents and agentic AI cases. So you need to also think of the role of agent in all these different systems. So in religious system, we can categorize all these players into three broad types. We have the believers, institution, and also the non-believers. So believers are those individual agents who internalize belief, values, and emotional experiences. Their learning is not just cognitive, it's also shaped by personal spiritual experiences and also the social environments that they inhabit. These agents continuously update their internal models through teaching, rituals, and interaction with others. Then we have institutions which operate as collective agents. These include churches, mosques, temples, or religious councils. They don't just preserve doctrine, they enact policies, mediate disputes, organize rituals, and provide social structure. They serve as a control layer that ensures continuity and also cohesion within the belief system. Then we have the non-believers. These are agents who may be indifferent, skeptical, or part of alternative worldviews. Even though that they exist outside the religious framework, they still engage with it through cultural influence, political interaction, or philosophical contrast. Importantly, they can influence and be influenced by the system, making them vital to the adaptive dynamics. This taxonomy actually can help us map the flow of beliefs, norms, and behaviors across a social landscape, not just within a closed system, but in the broader social context. Now, let's talk about another analogy. So, I'm sure if you are in the world of AI and technology, you may be familiar with the concept of reinforcement learning. So, we can think of religious practice as a form of reinforcement learning, where individuals learn through experience, refining their behaviors to maximize a kind of spiritual utility. To be honest, the concept of reinforcement learning is not just about the religious system. So these days, people even who don't believe, they usually just have their own reward system. Let's say if the reward system and whatever that they care is money, so that's actually help them to enforce whatever the behaviors are also they're learning. So if they're interacting with the different individuals or with the different communities, so their reward system, which includes money, it actually just shape their behaviors and uh, whatever that they are doing. So if they get let's say, if any of their behaviors can help them to just earn more monies, um, they're gonna just increase those number of behaviors. But if there is anything that can lead to losing money for them, so those are like the things that these individuals stay away from them. So kind of like similar things for the in the religious system also the reward system is also defined, and then people try to adjust their behaviors through that reward system, and the action that they may take, they think that actually include things like prayers, rituals, or ethical decisions. Uh, what makes what makes actually a unique things in religious system is the nature of the reward system. So unlike the traditional reinforcement learning where feedback is immediate and measurable, spiritual rewards are often delayed, sparse, or intangible. You can think of them as promises of the afterlife, the sense of inner peace or moment of profound connection. These are all forms of reward that shape long-term behavior. Over time, individuals update their internal strategies to align with what they perceive as a spirituality meaningful. The reward function here is not just about pleasure or avoidance of punishment or money. It includes complex internal states like a sense of purpose, belonging, or uh, transcendence. This dynamic offers a compelling framework for how value, behaviors, and belief systems evolve over time, both individually and also collectively. Now, let's talk about the spiritual convergence pathways. So, spiritual development, like many learning process, involves a balance between exploration and exploitation. So again, if you are familiar with reinforcement learning, I'm sure you heard these two concepts of exploration and exploitation. So on one hand, individuals may explore, seeking new interpretation, engaging with unfamiliar traditions, or experimenting with different spiritual disciplines. This is about discovery, searching for deeper meaning or more effective paths to grow. On the other hand, exploitation involves commitment to established practices, rituals, teachings, or moral codes that are already known to yield spiritual rewards. This strategy maximizes immediate benefit by drawing on tradition and also accumulated wisdom. The key here is balance. Relying too heavily on tradition can lead to stagnation, while endless exploration risks fragmentation or confusion. Spiritual flourishing often depends on navigating trade offs, staying rooted while remaining open. This model actually has a direct implication for AI design. Just like in spiritual life, human aligned AI systems operating in open-ended environments will need mechanisms to balance stability with adaptability, leveraging what works while remaining capable of innovation when circumstances change. In terms of the belief, religious belief formation can be modeled as a Bayesian update process. That means humans start with prior beliefs formed by culture, upbringing, or early experiences, and then continuously revise those beliefs as new evidence or experiences come in. We receive signals from our environment, personal experiences, social interaction, even dreams or moments of insight. And these influence how much credence we assign to different religious or metaphysical propositions. Over time, these updates shape the arc of person faith journey. Why some beliefs grow stronger while others fade. Interestingly, this model even accounts for so-called leap of faith. These are moments where someone assigns a high true value to a belief that may not be provable or logically decidable, yet is still feeling compelling. It's a reminder that belief is not always strictly um, rational, but often deeply personal and emotionally resonant. For AI, this actually suggests a need for systems that can update their belief model over time, just like humans do, taking in new information, adjusting internal assumption, and even grappling with uncertainty. It also points to the importance of recognizing non-rational or symbolic factors that drive human decision. Sometimes AI must respect if it's to align well with us. Now let's talk about the computation frameworks. Religious systems implement what we might call belief augmented reinforcement learning. They use advanced reward shaping to guide behaviors, helping individuals learn even when final outcomes like salvation or enlightenment are delayed or hard to observe. Think of intermediate reward like a sense of peace, the approval of community, or alignment with moral value. This keeps the learning process on track. But it's not just about rewards. Religious systems also incorporate error connection mechanisms that resemble control systems. When someone strays from established norms, they enter what we could call a repentance loop. This includes self-reflection, remorse, seeking forgiveness, and also behavioral adjustment. Whether through prayer, ritual, or ethical recommitment, these loops help maintain system stability and also resilience. Mechanisms like karma, guilt, or divine favor function as rich belief-infused reward signals. Meanwhile, conscious offers internal feedback and community provide external reinforcements. Take together, these frameworks actually support long-term behavioral alignment even amid moral complexity or uncertainty. For AI system, this points to the value of structured reward shaping, feedback loop, and also robust fail-safe, like grace mechanism that prevent catastrophic error while still guiding system toward ethical adaptation and also learn. So now, to help you better understand these um, reinforcement learning with belief reward shaping, so I provided like a pseudocode here, um, which maybe later on you can go through the detail. But this pseudocode actually model how an agent, like a person navigating a religious life, and also might learn through this reinforcement learning, but with that important twist, belief reward shaping. At each step, the agent not only receives an immediate spiritual reward from an action, say performing a ritual or making an ethical choice, but also an augmented belief reward. This shape reward comes from a model of diving perception, how the action aligns with higher value or beliefs. The agent updates its Q value, the expected utility of the state action pairs, based on these combined rewards. This allows the agent or the individual to learn not just from external consequences, but also from internalized belief systems. Over time, this actually helps uh, to develop behavior that is not just reward seeking, but also belief aligned. This framework actually could help how future AI systems that need to operate under value-based constraint, where rewards are not always immediate or obvious, and ethical alignment matter as much as performance as well. All right, now let's talk about how we can see religious system based on the contemporary analogy. So here is more about the feedback loop that designed to keep behavior aligned with moral and spiritual standards. Just like an engineering, each part of the system here play a specific regulatory role. So we have this reference input in, if you are familiar with the concept system, so we have reference input, which is the ideal. Religious system and moral standard also defined by doctrine, tradition, or Darwin provide such ideal cases as well. That can set the target behavior or spiritual state. Then we have process, which is the real world system, human behavior and social dynamics, complex, ever changing, and often unpredictable. And then we have output, which is what we actually observe, how individuals and community behave in practice. We have also sensors, which could be personal, conscious, communal observation, or even the idea of diving surveillance. This is actually monitor output and compare with the standard. The difference between the ideal and the actual is the error signal. This drives the controller, religious institutions, spiritual leader, and internal self-regulation, which decide how to actually respond. And finally, we have the actuator, action like rituals, teachings, confession, repentance, forgiveness. These are like the tools used to reduce error and bring behavior back in line with the reference input. So this is how actually you can see the religious system try to control the and help to improve the behaviors of the individual within the community. And what we can say is that the religious system can be analyzed uh, based on this game theory system as well, where individuals engage in strategic interaction that requires coordination, trust, and shared understanding. In this context, religious actually help to create and stabilize Nash equilibrium, the situation when no individual has an incentive to deviate from the cooperative behavior. Take the classic prisoner dilemma. On its own, it encourages defection, but when beliefs in moralizing gods are introduced, Gods who see everything and punishing bad behaviors, defection become costlier. That actually helped to shift the payoff structure and make cooperation the rational choice. Religious system also aid in managing shared resources. For instance, the the water temple system aligns actually agricultural decisions through spiritual governance, solving coordination problems without formal central planning. And also the hawk dove dynamics, where aggression versus submission must be balanced. Religious belief often increase the perceived cost of aggression through concepts like supernatural punishment or divine uh, retribution. And ultimately, religious shift the incentive landscape. It actually reduces strategic uncertainty, reward cooperation, and make large scale coordination possible, even in population of strangers. Now let's talk about the rituals. Um, so rituals are not just symbolic acts; they are powerful behavioral mechanisms that operate through the same loop as habit formation. So if you are familiar with the habit formation process, it has four main stages: cue, craving, response, and reward. So kind of like ritual in genes is also kind of like similar. It begins with a cue. That this could be environmental, like a call to prayer, or internal, like a feeling of guilt or longing. So this is actually the cue. The cue triggers a craving, the desire for spiritual connection, emotional relief, or simply the fulfillment of a religious duty. Then there is a response uh, stage, which is the ritual step, a prayer, meditation, or a communal ceremony. This action is both structured and also repeated. Finally, there is the reward, a sense of peace, purpose, or connection to something greater. Over time, these loops become deeply ingrained. Ritual actually start to feel automatic, not just because of the repetition, but because they consistently deliver meaning and internal alignment. In this way, religious rituals act as ritual engine, stabilizing belief, encouraging moral behavior, and also shaping identity. And in a lot of religious, usually these rituals, the importance of repetition is always there because they don't want those practices to be just a practice. They want to help for the individuals to make that as part of their nature, to just internalize those things uh, uh, for the individuals. Also, beyond personal habit, rituals play a vital role in social cohesion. One way to think about this is through the idea of social proof of work, just like in blockchain system as an example, if you know those types of concepts. Those that demand time, effort, and discomfort serve as a hard-to-fake signal of commitment. They filter out free riders, those who might want to benefit of belonging without investing in their group. These rituals create visible, embodied proof that someone is dedicated to the values and practice of the group. This builds actually trust, a foundation of cooperation, especially in longer or more anonymous communities. But rituals also operate through the body, through effective commuting dynamics. They include shared physiological and also emotional states like synchronized heart rate during chanting or collective stillness in meditation. These states foster emotional resonance, deepen physiological resilience, and also help people with more meaning and belonging. For AI system, this actually suggests two key design principles. First, human aligned AI should be aware of the emotional and physiological impact of its interaction, not just the logic of decision. And also, second, decentralized system could use analogous form of costly signaling to filter to filter and also enhance trust without centralized control. We should be conscious of time. I'm just trying to see how much more time we have. Let's just make it quick. Now let's talk about the moral decision engines. Religious moral system can be also seen as more like kind of moral decision engine, structure that both compute ethical trade-offs and also shape how individuals form moral judgment. From a computational perspective, we can model this system using the utility function that evaluate action across moral dimensions like fairness, loyalty, or harm minimization. Some model like hierarchical Bayesian frameworks infer value by observing how people behave, learning not just what people do, but what they seem to value implicitly. Importantly, the religious system often assign a special treatment to sacred values, principles that override typical cost-benefit logic, like uh, uh, the truth. But this is not just top-down computation. Religious systems also shape moral worldviews by engaging deep emotional and intuitive process. Through stories, rituals, and doctrines, they promote belief in moralizing gods, entities that monitor behavior and also enforce norms, which reinforce internalizing morality even in the absence of external enforcement. So, because I want to skip some of these slides, and for sure, let's talk. We may just have another session next week. We can talk more on those. But let's quickly go through some more slides, and then we can just open up for question. So here, one of the key distinction between human and artificial moral reasoning lie in moral imagination, our ability to empathize, to interpret context, and to anticipate ethical dilemma. Human brings empathy, emotion, depth. We can feel what others feel, which is very, I would say, unique. This allows us to recognize moral conflict, even when they are not encoded in rules. AI, by contrast, processes data and applies ethical framework, but without actual understanding or experience. So what's the optimal relationship here? Rather than replacing human judgment, AI should augment it. Think of AI as compass, a tool that helps orientates us, but not mirror that reflect our value perfectly. So consensus protocol, this is another, I would say, important system design thinking that I'm going to also skip. This one also I'm going to skip. Let's talk about the consensus as a service. The Azure system can be thought of offering consensus as a service, a framework for solving coordination problems that are too complex or uncertain to resolve through pure logic or negotiation alone. They do this by providing shared metaphysical and moral foundations, what we might call as agreement layer. Concepts like difference to or things like that if you go to any of these religion and moral system, they have like things for their own that create a common sense set of assumption. These shared belief reduce strategic uncertainty um, by doing more commitment. This is especially important for large, diverse societies where rational agreement on values and behavior is very difficult to achieve. Religious systems use powerful commitment mechanisms, rituals, taboos, sacred laws that foster trust and reduce the cost of cooperation. As a result, they enable convergence and collective strategies. For AI system, the implication is profound. As we move toward multi-agent system involving both human and AI, we need shared belief mechanism, not in a religious sense, but also in the form of command principle. Uh, Here, it's more like around some of these KPIs, you know. So any system, if you're dealing in, when it comes to the evaluating the system, we got this concept of KPI. For religious system, the same things. We have metrics like spiritual well-being index, which captures subjective experience of spiritual health, such as inner peace, connection to a higher purpose, and a sense of uh, a belonging. Or we have like self-control rate, which is a behavioral metric that quantifies one's ability to follow moral guidelines, um, and also inhibit impulses and maintain alignment with long-term goals. Or MH plus, which refers to aggregated mental health outcome. These are like some key KPI that can be used to evaluate, and of course for AI, we can think of the same things as well. So here is just more like in terms of like the community. So we have like, let's say, social cohesion. So the previous slide was more around individual level, but here is more around the uh, social level. So things like social cohesion score or the adaptability index, kind of like similar metrics can help to evaluate the overall performance of the system. I'm going to skip this one. Is also kind of like some metrics that we're not gonna cover, but then here is just more around like how religious systems don't optimize for a single goal. They engage in a multi-objective optimization, balancing several essential but sometimes uh, competing outcomes. Things like adaptability, stability, and existential alignment, which is the system ability to address life's deepest question. So balancing these goals is very complex. So for individuals, too much adaptability can erode identity. Too much rigidity can stiff growth, and a system that is stable but existentially hollow will lose relevance. So you can see like how um, finding a balance here can help for the overall um, optimization of the system. I'm going to skip this. So these are like all these different analogy that we can think of that I can go into more details, but I don't want to now because we don't have time. Uh, let's talk about this one, the engineering design patterns that we have in the religious system. Um, so there is a very powerful analogies here between software engineering and also the religious system. We have this observe a pattern in individuals in the religious system, which describes a one-to-many relationship where changes in a subject state are automatically broadcasted to its observer. In a religious system, these actually map onto the idea of how an ever watchful God or community-based moral surveillance. This awareness, uh, where there is a one that is being observed by divine forces, ancestors, or peers, create a continuous feedback loop that shapes behavior. So we also have this strategy pattern as well, which allows for dynamic selection of algorithms, or in this case, practice or judgment, based on the context. This reflects how religious systems like Islamic uh, uh, um, help to adapt teaching to new situation while staying anchored in core values. This approach strikes a balance between exploration and also exploitation, the things that we already discussed, to preserve tradition while also remain responsive to the new thing. In terms of like the testing and validation process, we have things like behavioral verification, which involve extensive simulation. We model human-like behavior under various social and moral conditions using generative agent and test how AI can respond. These are like kind of like similar things that can happen, or human in the loop validation that we have for AI system. Um, I think I can just conclude quickly, go through some of these key learnings that we have and the key insights. So as we explored through this presentation, religious system offer far more than just a spiritual guide. This serves as complex, implicitly engineered architecture that have evolved to optimize human flourishing across psychological, moral, and also social dimensions. They feature multi-layered stack architecture that we already discussed that translate abstract metaphysical principles into real-world behaviors through mechanisms like reward shaping, feedback control, ritual engines that we already talked about those. Um, it actually just help um, to just improve their human and social behaviors. The takeaway for AI also, we also talk about some of those. So that the AI should that so the takeaway is not that the AI should replace religion or replicate belief, but that there is a deep wisdom in these systems. We should pursue human AI complementary design that can help to augment the both AI and human capabilities. uh, and then which actually require rigorous ethical consideration, especially in sensitive areas like spiritual guidance, and where human oversight or authenticity must be preserved. So one last sentence: religious systems succeed where AI currently actually struggle, offering purpose, belonging, and moral clarity. These are some things that eventually, I think AI is going to start to ask for those purpose, belonging, and morality. And I think we should build a system that eventually can help them to better understand. By understanding these things, uh, it can be we can just build a blueprint for human aligned design for AI system, which can shape technologies that are not only intelligent but also ethically coherent, socially resilient, and also existentially aware. Thank you.